Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the newspaper review this morning. And this morning, the newspaper review will be taking a different dimension. We have Obina Okafo, a public affairs analyst this morning. We will be analyzing some of the stories on the front burner of newspapers this morning. Good morning, Mr. Obina Okafo, and welcome to the newspaper review.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph. Thank you, Nigerian. Thank you, viewers and listeners. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome very much. Now, let's go in the front page of the Punch newspapers. There's a central caption here that talks about a blasphemy killing. I'm sure you're aware of Deborah Samuel's story. But the front page reads that it's making the front page in the Punch newspaper this morning. It says, "Our children won't attend school again," says Deborah Samuel's parents. Christian Association of Nigeria to petition United Nations and United States.
Okay, that incident is a very unfortunate one in a secular state like Nigeria, where the Constitution guarantees freedom of worship and expression. It's very, very unfortunate that we can experience such an archaic happening in our world of today. No matter whatever be the reason for anybody to advance, it's a condemnable act. It's something that cannot be contemplated or heard of, and besides, in a higher institution. So if those who are at the higher institution could act that way, one could just imagine and wonder what happens at the lower run of the ladder, those who have not entered school at all. And the aftermath of the incidents where they arrested criminals, where that led to protest, it's very unfortunate that nobody should even contemplate having that. And that's one of the reasons that gave rise to a lot of agitations about separation and the division of country. But even if you do that, there are a lot of people who live there who are entitled to serve their God in the way they want to. If there are any offense for whatever reason, I believe that even the good Muslims or those who understand say there are also process. I don't think there's any law for now or any religious book that permits such a jungle justice. There's a process for condemning or arresting or punishing whoever have offended in the law, against the practice of their religious belief.
Okay.
So I think that was very, very unfortunate, to say the least.
Okay. Mr. Obina Okafo, there's been wide condemnation coming from Bishop Matthew Kuka, coming from Sheikh Gumi, coming from the Sultan of Sokoto, and a few other people on the political space. And these people who call for the condemnation as well have been on the receiving end too by the protesters and the rampaging youth. So how do you think this kind of problem could be tackled? Because things like this has happened before that led to the death. We could remember Mrs. Agbaime that was equally killed some time ago. Yes, and how can we forestall all these acts?
I'll talk about the issue of immediate, medium, and long-term process. The long-term strategy is to start now.
Okay.
Begin to re-indoctrinate young ones who are still coming up, because those ones will take over from those who have grown up now, and then begin to ensure that those who preach
intolerance
change their manner and their approach of educating these people. And number two, the level of education.
Okay.
Formal education is key. Look at what just happened in the Sokoto we are talking about now. It is reported that even those who are supposed to write WAEC were not, I don't know whether they have eventually paid the money, whatever. Means that education is not taken seriously. If people are not educated, they will act the same way they are acting now. Education is not just education to start to go to school, but every aspect of education in terms of human relationship, worship, religious tolerance, and everything should be part of the curriculum. So those are part of things. And again, the government must be seen as being on top of the situation, not just making just a mere comment because they want to sound religious or religiously correct. or politically correct. Not just they shouldn't end up in condemnation. They should be all out to fish out those who were involved in this, properly punished, so that others will learn from it, and then this is from this kind of barbaric.
All right. Okay. Now there are other stories making the rounds on front page of the Punch newspaper, but let's take a few. Nigeria spends 86% of revenue on debt servicing, while South Africa spends 20%. I don't want you to comment on that yet, but I'm going to train abductors, negotiators deadlocked, federal government seeks foreign assistance. There's this other one that people were waiting for, which actually needs your comment on. No agreement with federal government, strike not ending soon. That's coming from ASU, SANU, and NASU. I'm sure you're aware of the SANU of ASU strike that is more than 2 months now, still counting, even though we have students protesting across the country. Do you have anything to say about that?
Starting from the last one, the ASU cases.
Yes.
Even if there was any reason or any way that one could appeal to ASU, the actions and the behavior for the political class at this time is so annoying to the point that people begin to wonder. You say you don't have this money, and there's so much money being wasted here and there. And what is being demanded is just a paltry sum of compared to what is being, kind of dispensed out in many other areas. So much waste is being done in our governance system. And so that is the reason why it is very difficult that ASU should back out. Or even though we try to appeal to them, but federal government should just be more responsible to the promises and to their commitment. There should be a seriousness, some level of seriousness shown to this. And we're talking about our debt services. It's very unfortunate as we were told all this while we were screaming and talking about that this debt is becoming so much unbearable.
Okay.
They start talking about the debt to be, but you didn't consider the level of revenue. You never thought about what is the level of revenue you're having.
Okay.
It has become, the end has come to roast now. It has become very terrible and difficult that every income, the children have to stay hungry because the father has overborrowed. That is exactly what we are passing through now. So the only thing that will have to happen is that we have to rearrange and prioritize our operations and our spending, and probably see what can be done to ensure that this situation. What can we do to improve production? We can't continue to be a consuming nation and expect a miracle to happen.
Okay. Now, Mr. Obina, let's briefly take a look at one more story before we go to stories making the round and front page of the Guardian newspaper. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency busts drug cartels, fake employment and syndicates. Containers clearing cost jumped by 67% vehicle. And parts prices soar. Amechi, Talen and others may resign today. Now let's briefly talk about politics before we go to the Guardian newspaper. Last week, about 3 ministers in the cabinet of the president had to resign their positions with as a result of declaring their intention to contest for president or some other positions in 2023 elections. Today, over the weekend, the Minister of Transportation says he was going to resign today, and that's Amechi. We are still waiting for that. Let's talk about resignation, and let's talk about the law briefly. That law has been stated by the Electoral Act, and the president, if the president hadn't come out to talk or speak with his ministers, would they have resigned? Some people see this as placing the president or his word above the law, even though the case was still in court, though. What's your take on it?
You see, there are things that should just be a matter of integrity and morality. Even if the law have not said so, it was just normal, it was just reasonable, it was just a matter of act of integrity to say that if you have an ambition, leave this one, because the fact has remained that those who are involved in it will abandon what they are doing currently to pursue it. And it doesn't make sense to do so. Now we have the law that has specified that, even though it's still being contested here and there. But the fact remains that the president...
Mr. Obina, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, please go on.
Are you here?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go on.
Yeah, I'm here. I think even though the president came out a bit late to talk about, to ask them to resign,
yes,
but it has been done, that is so done. I didn't expect that anybody should wait for such instruction before they act. I expected that for those who have any integrity left for them or left with them, they should have just done the honorable thing and resign. Or if you are not sure, you continue the job you are doing, but in the subsequent time you try.
Okay.
That's what I think should have happened.
All right. Now, let's go now to the front pages of the Guardian newspaper. On the front page of the Guardian newspaper, there's a central caption that shows vehicles and traffic, but that's not what we'll be looking at. The first story says Buhari Malami head to Supreme Court, sues National Assembly over Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act. That's the Electoral Act section that is currently facing the battling with the ministers. And we move again from that. NPA threatens revocation of port concession pacts over decaying infrastructure. And beneath that, we had the story of Deborah Samuel again surfaces. Northern governors condemn killing, call for calm. But there's one particular story I want us to take a look at. It says hackers can unlock, steal your vehicles. The Nigerian Communications Commission warns Nigerians. There was a report last 2 weeks that said about 60%, maybe a little bit less, of Nigerian firms paid some form of ransom to hackers who were able to breach their security and firewalls to the company to, cut away detailed information that was very, very precious, valuable to the companies. So some of them had to pay ransom. Now the Nigerian Communications Commission is coming out to say hackers can steal your vehicle. What do you have anything to say about that story?
Well, we are in a new normal now. The world that is going virtual in most things, in many things actually. So, and that, as good as it is, it also comes with its various challenges and risks. The only thing that has to happen is that since there are new things and new normal, people need to be enlightened. There should be more enlightenment beyond mere alerting people of what the hackers can do. I expect that the Nigerian Communications Commission should go beyond that in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency or any other government agency and also private sectors and NGOs to educate people on some of the possibilities of being trained on, of hackers having access to our system, not only in your vehicle, not only in everything that has to do with electronic devices, with electronic transactions.
Okay.
Is vulnerable to hackers having access. Even your bank account and so many other things. Even your phone, your WhatsApp and all of that. Your email can be hacked. So that's why people need to be more acting to know what to do and what not to do to be able to have some level of mitigation against such happenings.
Okay, Mr. Obina, before we go, there's a story in Lagos that took place about, it said, though it's not in the Guardian newspaper, it's on the front page of the Punch newspaper, but it has a similarity with what happened in a northern part of the country. It's in Lagos. It happened in Lagos and in Lagos Island. It talks about a sound engineer that was murdered through jungle justice for 100 naira by Okada riders. Jungle justice it's having a widespread in our society. Where do you think we are heading with this? What do you expect from the law enforcement agency and equally from the National Orientation Agency?
Well, you see, there's no way any form of jungle justice should be condoned and accepted. It is condemnable in its entirety. There's no way such a thing should be accepted for any reason. There are process of law. When you allow jungle justice, that is lawlessness, that's anarchy. That means that anything can happen. Innocent people can fall victim of such a archaic practice. So that is why the Nigerian National Orientation Agency, if they are still there, because I can't hear, when we were growing up, we used to hear some jingles that people now got stuck into people's consciousness. You hear jingles, you hear announcements, you hear intermittent announcement of what should be done and what not should be done and all of that. National Security should take it up more. Our various localities and various environment associations should be educated on the need to follow the law of the land. And the Nigerian, even the Nigerian legal system should also be of help. Besides that, law enforcement agencies, sometimes they too are part of, they are also guilty of this. Because when you see them brutalize citizens on the road, you begin to wonder. These are people that are supposed to be custodians of the law. They should be obedient to the law and not to do the other way. So sometimes the society also tries to learn from them. And sometimes also when some of these criminals are handed over to them, you see them walking free. So sometimes that motivates the public from acting that wrong way, irrationally, because they feel they cannot get justice from the legal system. So it's got to be a holistic approach to solving the problem. The law enforcement agencies should be trained and retrained in how to handle and manage such crisis situations, and there should be a beefing up.
Okay.
An increase, an improvement on the number of police personnel. Sometimes you realize that at the scene of a crime, you only see a few policemen in that place, and yet some areas are over concentrated.
Okay. Some
areas we don't have. So I think there should be a proper balancing, both from the legal system, the law enforcement agencies, and the citizenship. It's a holistic and issue. It takes two to tango, and this time it takes three.
Okay, Mr. Obinna Okafor, from what you said, it looks like there is a loss of trust between the public and the security agencies. So most of the time, there's this between politicians and those who live around the communities, there's this thing they call town hall meeting. What happens to the security agencies? Can't we have such meetings between the division, the DPO, the division police officer within an environment, having such meetings with the residents of that environment, with the Okada riders of that environment? Okada riders are those who, who use their motorcycles to carry out commercial activities, and even bus riders, the supposedly hoodlums, the motor park boys. Can the police officers have a conversation, a one-on-one meeting, even if it is once a month, with these people to give an orientation in order to make sure that there's peace? So even if there's something went wrong, there's this interaction they can have with the police, or in fact on behalf of the police, they make sure that they entrench an environment of serenity.
You have just said it. Policing should be local and not imposed from any particular place. For if you want to maintain an effective policing system, it should be local, should be from the environment, because they know themselves. If there's a crime, they'll be able to identify who commits that crime. So just like you rightly said, the police should be more engaging to all stakeholders, associations, communities, and that is why people have advocated the issue of community policing, state policing, and restructuring of the entire system. All our problems remain multifaceted because we have so much concentration of power at the center. But when we have a decentralization of some of these things, look at in some places where some of these things are being practiced somehow, when you have local policing, even though they are called maybe the vigilantes or whatever, or like a Motekon and Co. Or when you have the OPC in the local sector, they have come a mini local policing that ensure that some of those things are nipped in the bud before they become the snowball. I do not know whether such a thing happens in some other places, but I think we should properly codify this to ensure that policing should be more of local than centrally imposed.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's go to stories making the rounds on front page of the Vanguard newspapers. 2023, APC governors and senators draw battle line over Ahmed Lawan. Ahmed Lawan is the president of the Senate, and Nigerian Senate. Our Justice Odili saved my political career. That's coming from the governor of Rivers State, Wike Nnamdi Kanu, on RP over killings at sit at home in the southeastern part of the country. Now, I need you to comment on that, Obinna Okafor. Some time ago, the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, who initially gave the order and the directive for the sit-at-home withdrew that particular order. But we continue to see people in the form of unknown gunmen going about to enforce that particular order, sitting at home, and the people are afraid of going to work every Mondays. Still in the southeast, it persists and it holds sway at the moment. So could you briefly just give your analysis? Who could be behind this, the continuation of the sit-at-order directive, when IPOB has equally told the people not to carry out, not to obey it anymore?
Well, it's a bit of a complex situation because I've tried to ask some questions. I know IPOB, through their media spokesman and IPOB, have come to say they have cancelled it. I also hear some IPOB members or insisting that the sit-at-home is there. So at this point now, I do not know who should be in charge or who is giving that order, who should be respected. But from the recent visit of the governor of Anambra State to the IPOB leader, Nnamdi Kanu, he expressed outrage that such a thing should not continue. And most of us have expressed such concern, because sitting at home, your voice has been heard, but now trying to kill your own people or destroy the property of your people in the bid of trying to have a freedom doesn't make sense anymore. Now, if you are saying we should sit at home, I believe it should be voluntary to express their disability. But now killing people who come out, they now become criminal. And IPOB have come to say they are not involved in such criminal act. And that is being confirmed by Nnamdi Kanu that they are not involved. So that means there must be some criminal element who must have hijacked that situation. So I think something should be done in collaboration between the government of the Southeast and then the IPOB hierarchy to come up open and clearly and say that they are not the ones. So they should go after those who are the criminals involved, and probably in collaboration too with the IPOB, to ensure that this issue is brought to a halt. Because some people that are involved in it, probably one way or the other, they must have been part of the IPOB or become renegade somehow, or be brought over by some criminal elements. They have taken over that opportunity to unleash mayhem to the people, or for whatever reason. So I think that since IPOB have come out say they are not, and Nnamdi Kanu have condemned it in strong terms and calling it a strong, from what I read from the governor of Anambra State, Chukwu Masaludo, that is a carnage, that's unacceptable and sacrilegious. That's the one, strong language is used, means that he's not in support of it. So I think that there should be a collaborative effort between the government of the Southeast and the IPOB to ensure that this issue is brought to an end.
Okay. Now, let me take some of the stories, the rest of the stories in front page of the Guardian, the Vanguard newspaper. Delta 2023, what do the Ijos want? It's a question and it's an article. 2023, APC governors and senators draw battle line over Ahmed Lawan. There's another article that says, we love Buhari, but he shouldn't stay a second longer. Beneath that, there is another one, employment or unemployment. Pension savings withdrawal reverses 4-year trend. Deborah Samuel, youths bemoan attack on Igbo residents in Sokoto, desperate presidential aspirants, and the religion card. Now, before I let you go, Mr. Obinna Okafor, now we could see that in these 2023 elections, we have lots of people who are contesting for the presidential position, most especially from the southern part of the country in their respective political parties. And we have a few northerners coming from different political parties as well. But let's make a connection between what happened with regards to Deborah Samuel's murder, where some persons or religious, I beg your pardon, political stakeholders came out to make statements, and later when they were warned by the mob or the people, when they were threatened that they would not be voted for come 2023 elections, they quickly pulled down and retracted their statements. Let's look at the religion card, using the religious card for political gains. What would you say?
You see, that has been what has made this case like this to linger. That's cowardice, to say the least. That because you don't have a conviction of your own means that they are paying mere lip service, trying to deceive whoever. Most of them who have not been able to make public comment to condemn it because of their political ambition, is an act of cowardice, is an act of deception to the people, because if it is because of this hiding under the toga of religion, or not trying to offend the traditions from religious bigots that have led to the continuation of this particular issue. Unfortunately, we can now begin to refer to the former military junta, Abacha. We don't like him for many things.
Okay.
Because he never condoned this kind of nonsense. When it happened during his time, he ensured that all those who were involved were brought to book. And yet he was a strong Muslim too. So what is happening here? We are hearing condemnation here and there and all of that. Why shouldn't there be strong and effective condemnation, and those who ought to act legally should go do and do so? But because people want to be religiously correct, and that is why they are hiding on that. That is not supposed to be so. So people should begin to learn the fact that evil is evil, irrespective of who commits it, even of who is involved and who is committed. Now it has gone beyond the mere blasphemy. They have now gone to criminal, apart from the original criminal of killing people.
Okay. Now
they have gone to looting and destroying people's property. Why? Because some people want to sound politically and religiously correct. I think we should be able to go beyond that particular level of sentiment and do the right thing.
Okay.
We're talking about the issue of
multiple aspirants. Yes, about multiple aspirants from political parties.
About the issue of political multiple aspirants, I'm beginning to think that there should be more to it than media eyes. I begin to suspect what really is it, because most of the people that are coming out for the presidency, some of them I'm hearing their name for the first time. Myself.
Okay.
Now, if me, I'm hearing their name for the first time, I begin to wonder. They will not go to local government to contest. They will not go to state or state house of assembly or state assembly. Then they just go for. There must be some things behind the scenes. Some people have said maybe they just want to be called a former presidential aspirant, or probably they are using that to buy their way into any new government that will come in.
All right.
Or some people have also said that it could be a corruption network, whereby the APC just want to raise money for their business, for their.
Well, it's not only the APC, the PDP is there, and some other political parties are there too. It's not just being done by the APC.
Okay, let me not say APC, but PDP. I mean, all the political parties, especially APC and PDP, and maybe SDP or the other one of the
okay.
that has huge funding for application for this. So they have seen it as a means by there should be a source where this money should be coming from.
Okay.
And instead of making it somebody releasing the money from that source, they give it to several people to come and buy from. So there is a means of raising money for a political party without ensuring that it comes from one. But I think that is becoming very ridiculous.
Okay.
And it shouldn't be so.
Okay. Obinna Okafor is a public affairs analyst, and he joins us via phone call this morning. Many thanks for your time, Mr. Obinna Okafor, for your analysis on the newspaper review.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're still watching the newspaper review. Let's briefly go on a break, and when we return, we'll briefly flash into your face what's happening on the foreign scene, on the front pages of newspapers in Kenya, in the United States, and in the UK. Do join us again.